Leader of the third party.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The World Health Organization states, and I quote, "COVID can spread in poorly ventilated and/or crowded indoor settings where people tend to spend long periods of time. This is because aerosols can remain suspended in the air or travel further than conversation distance. This is often called long-range aerosol or long-range airborne transmission." My question for you, Honourable Speaker, is to the Minister of Health. Does he agree with the World Health Organization that COVID is an airborne virus?
Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I think the member will know from the beginning of the pandemic, Dr. Henry, our public health teams, the Ministry of Health, have consistently advised people that outdoors is safer than indoors, that we need to take specific action to ensure that people are protected indoors. And that's why we've had all of the measures that have happened over time, including a mask mandate that continues to this day, including the BC vaccine card that continues to this day and will continue for some months to come, that includes other public health measures to limit capacity and to limit transmission. Consistently over that time, that has been the case, because outdoors is safer than indoors. And the advice in this question has been repeatedly answered by Dr. Henry in that regard. It's that we have to continue to take the steps necessary to protect one another and to protect people's health in a global pandemic. And that's what we'll continue to do.
Leader of the third party, supplemental.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And it's strange to me that we can't just have the simple phrase, COVID is an airborne virus. It matters because the policies and protections that the Minister speaks of are moved by this recognition of it being an airborne virus. N95 masks, standards for ventilation, air filtration, measuring air quality indoors are appropriate responses to an airborne virus. Clear information, knowledge, and protections made available to citizens are essential in a pandemic, and yet in BC, healthcare workers and patients in hospitals have been denied access to the most basic tool for an airborne virus, which is an N95 mask. My questions for you, Honourable Speaker, is again to the Minister of Health. Will he commit to ensuring that British Columbians indeed have access to the protections that help reduce and manage an airborne virus, including N95s?
Minister of Health.
Honourable Speaker, consistently from the beginning of the pandemic, British Columbians, and I mean officials in the Ministry of Health, our healthcare teams, have made extraordinary efforts to make sure that our healthcare workers have the PPE necessary to protect themselves. We have currently, for example, 7.7 million N95 masks. Well, Honourable Speaker, we receive a contribution from the opposition House Leader, but those are in place because it is absolutely necessary to have a stockpile of masks well into the future. A lesson that was well learned when international supply lines were interrupted and traditional suppliers were unable to provide those masks in March and April of 2020. We've made an extraordinary effort to ensure that the PPE is available to keep our health workers safe, and it is used with the guidance of those who are expert in the area in public health to do so. And I think, Honourable Speaker, that is the right approach. It's a approach that has protected healthcare workers, that's been guided by public health, and demonstrates our commitment to support healthcare workers, a commitment that has been demonstrated in our support for those workers, both in long-term care and assisted living and in acute care and in the community from the beginning of the pandemic through a number of measures that I think are overwhelmingly supported by British Columbians and by members of this House.